everyone, and welcome back to The Woman in Between. I am so excited for another guest episode with you guys, with none other, Christine. We are so excited to have you back on the podcast. Welcome.
I'm always excited to be here with you.
Yes, this is always a great space, and I think we
Yes.
always make magic in it. So I'm excited. It's been so good having guest episodes on. I know we've had a few back to back, and we're going to continue having more guests on because I think we learn and thrive in community. So if you haven't been keeping up with the past few episodes, please check out the YouTube channel. We are directing everybody over there so you can catch up on all of the video episodes. We have some really cool Q&As happening at the end, so please stay tuned. Make sure you are subscribed. But we're going to dive into it. Yes. And I think I've kind of introduced this topic a little bit, Christine, on my personal Instagram stories. Yes. Because I saw this quote, and now I have to find it. I have to find it because I have to remember what it says. Okay, so in the spirit of friendship, right? Women need other women in their lives who think they are a big deal. No competition, no backhanded comments, no jealousy, just an I love you, I support you, there's no one on earth like you kind of energy. And I love that because it resonated so much into what we've been talking about with boss up conversations, having the right people around you. And I think that this is the perfect season to talk all things friendship.
Yes. Well, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. So
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So one thing that I did want to say is I love that quote. And when you said women need other women, I stopped there because for one, it's how you kind of started off. We all need community, but what does your community look like? And I think that's where we're going tonight. When you say, what does that community look like? Do you have people in your circle that are praying for you, that are sending blessings your way? Or do you have people that are secretly like, I hope her podcast don't make it. Ooh. I hope that relationship don't make it. Ooh, her hair is ugly, but I'm going to say it's cute. Oh, girl, you look cute, girl. Like,
No, it really is like that. And, I feel like that is a question that I've been getting all year, mainly from my therapist, because me and my decisions, sometimes I go left. But she has asked that to me, and I've had other people ask, what is your definition of a friend? And what does that look like for you? And, I know you and I always talk about what did that look like maybe 10 years ago versus what it looks like now. And on this podcast, we talk a lot about seasons and transitioning in those seasons. So as we're going through each seasons, what we need from the people around us changes. Inevitably. And there's some people that can stick with us through those seasons, and I am so grateful to have those relationships. And there are some people that are meant to simply be experienced within the season. So I am curious, how would you define a friend for the season that you are in right now?
Oh, that's a really good question, Jelesa. I definitely feel like in this season, well, let me backtrack. You said something key. You said, what is your definition of a friend? And you also said 10 years ago going to look different from today. Well, 10 years ago, I was with the whole ride or die. I needed a ride or die type friend. Like if I move, she moved, just like that type of energy. Like we really was some little bullies back then. If we could just be honest, like if my friend had a problem with somebody, I had a problem with that person. But surprisingly, I've evolved, right? So now I require less chaos and more peace. I look for friendships that I can pull from, right? So I have a friend in my life. When I immediately met her, I knew that she was going to be the peace that I needed and the joy that I needed. And she has proven to be nothing but that. And right now I'm in a season where I don't talk to my friends every day, right? I have some friends that I literally have not spoken to in probably 4 months. But when I do call them, we pick right back up. And in this season, I need people to be understanding of that. So in this season, it's changed to I need prayer warriors. When you don't hear from me, I need you to be concerned and I need you to be definitely going beseeching God for me, because you never know what could be going on. But I need prayer warriors, and I need understanding people, understanding friends in my season right now. What about you?
Ooh, you said, I feel like I'm still digesting what you said. The less chaos and more peace part resonates with me so much. And I get the ride or die because, like, I needed my girls, like, I needed to know we were doing the same things together. And there is a lot more alignment, you know, when you're in your 20s, right? Even in your teens. But that whole running around in the streets, just the drama and the boys, like old Jelesa, 18, 22, 25-year-old Jelesa was chaotic,
Yeah.
truly. So I'm in agreement with you. Um, you know, I feel like I am in a season where I kind of have a mixture of two types of friendships.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe even more than that. I have the friends that I am talking to on a daily basis, and they are very much ingrained in my life. I do look at friendship as doing life together.
Yes.
So I need friends where I can really talk about every aspect of my life. I want to be able to talk about, you know, being a mom, but also being a podcaster and being an entrepreneur, and being, you know, just an emotional girl who sometimes just want to woo woo. Like, I want to be able to bring all of those pieces to my friendships. But, you know, showing it in different ways. So I have my friends that I'm talking to throughout the day, every day. And then I have friends like you where you're saying, like, we will go months without talking with one another. But that connection never ends, that support, that
Yeah.
love, and you know it's there. And those are some of the friendships that I've really treasured. Because I know, like, when things really hit the fan, I know exactly who I can call, and
Oh,
there's not
and you
going to be
said
a
a
question.
mouthful.
Hmm.
You definitely said a mouthful. Knowing who you can call when those times come, because they're going to come, right?
Oh
That's
yeah,
just life. In different seasons, there are going to come times where you like, I need to really pull on this friend just a little bit longer than what I normally would have. And let me explain to you when I say pull, because I don't want anybody to get a negative connotation with that. I believe, and this podcast welcomes different beliefs, but what I believe is that in certain seasons, you can pull certain things from certain people that you might not have, right?
yes.
God gives us each unique characteristics, right? And what if in this season I needed to depend on your joy, right? What if in this season I needed to pull something from you that I just don't have in this season? So for
Mm,
me, what that would look like is I feel like in this last season I just came out of, I was very much so complex Christine. We talked in the previous podcast about some of the mental issues that I've been battling with, which I've been very open and vulnerable about, right?
yeah.
But in that season, I needed to pull from someone who was going to church every Sunday, because I wasn't going to church every Sunday. So you might have had to give me a word when I couldn't think or come up with a word for myself. And as you
Mm,
know, I've sent out prayers all year until
yes.
this season came, and then I stopped sending out prayers. Well, that don't mean that I didn't need prayers. So I needed support from people who were still praying and beseeching God. And like I said, prayer warriors who could pray for me, because I couldn't find time to pray for myself. I didn't even have the mindset to pray for myself.
Yeah.
So when you said doing life together, sometimes that means is you need to be fluid. You need to be a little flexible with what Christine has going on. In some seasons, you're gonna get very goofy, Christine. You're gonna get very happy, perky, Christine. But in some seasons, you're gonna get, I hadn't heard from you, Christine. Are you okay?
Yeah.
And I'll respond. I always respond, but some seasons I may not reach out first. Will you reach out first?
You know, and that's a good point because I was saying earlier, I feel like a lot of my friendships are changing in terms of what I need. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with people. I think as you get older, you realize you can lose contact or disconnect and everything still be fine.
Yeah,
You're still
yeah,
rooting for each other in the back end, but they're not able to give you what you need in this season. And right now for me, I do need people that are comfortable checking in on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
3 months ago, you probably weren't hearing from Jelesa because I was going through it and isolating. But
Right.
now I'm in a season where like, no, 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 I want to check in. I want to know what's going on. Yes, you might get the 4 minute voice memo, but I'm back, I'm here, I'm present. What do you need from me? And
Right.
I'm also wanting the same in return, which is
Yeah.
interesting because there's some friends that were able to be there for me in that desert season, as I like to call it, but they can't be with me in this one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and to be honest, that's one thing I'm kind of struggling with right now is trying to understand the why, but more importantly, understanding it's just time to pivot.
Right.
Um, but when you talk about like doing life with one another, I feel like the question really is like, as my friend, can I show up in this space authentically? Is
Yes.
this a soft place for me to land?
Right.
And I think that's the ultimate question that we all want answered. Like, what happens when I become quiet and I become reserved and I go dark? What happens when I'm really outgoing and I want to go out? Like, there's been moments where we're like, yeah, let's go out, let's go speed dating, right? And that was the season.
That was. Even though we never made it, but that was.
We never made it.
We never did. But
We
we
never
tried. We
made
didn't
it.
make it. We tried.
We actually did try, and I think this
Yeah.
is the complete definition of you have to get off of your couch, sis. But it is what it is.
Mhm.
I stand.
But you said you have to get off your couch, but also having those friends in those seasons that'll come sit on the couch with you. I have a friend, and I had something like this years ago. I want to share just a little story, and I'm a shorten it up. But I had a friend who passed away in 2008, in 2018. Her name was Kim. Kim was that type of friend where if she came to Mississippi, we laid in the same bed together. It was that type of sisterhood. Like, so I missed that and I long for that, right? Because I didn't have that with my sisters, and I have a plethora of sisters. I have how many do I have on my dad's side? At least two on my dad's side and at least two on my mom's side. I didn't really have that relationship with them. I wanted it, but I didn't have it. So I just learned to find it everywhere else. And I found it in Kim before she passed.
Mhm.
Well, after Kim, I had it in her sister, Tanaya. And then Tanaya and our season kind of ended. And God ended up giving me that same thing because I longed for that way of connecting with a friend, a woman, to where if I'm not feeling good, come get in the bed with me. Not saying, nothing. We always sexualize things. Nothing sexual is going on. Come sit in the bed with me. Come meet me where I'm at. Doesn't the Father do that? Doesn't God do that to us? He
Oh,
meets us where we are. So if I'm in a season where I just want to cry and lay, can you come cry and lay with me? And I think that that's what makes friendships more than what they more than what we expect them to be. When I found out that she was like, I'm wherever you need me to be, I'm like, hey, that's something I would say. I tell all my friends, I'm wherever you need me to be. Also, when you said your desert season, knowing who to take into your season, because I'm gonna be honest with you, and you know what? Some people may not like this, but I just can only be me. I
hey.
don't tell friends, I don't share with friends. Every friend that I have don't know what I've been going through. Only some friends are privileged to share a certain journey with me.
Hmm.
When I end a lot of the videos I do, you hear me say, Jelesa, I'm on this journey with you because I'm that friend that can go on any journey. I'm that friend that can go on the anxiety journey, the depression journey, the divorce journey, the I just got out of a 16-year relationship with this person journey. I keep going back to my baby daddy journey. I keep sleeping around with this person journey because I'm non-judgmental. And
Yeah.
I can be a good listener, or
Yes, you
I
can.
can be the friend that says, I'm whatever you need me to be. You need me to listen or you want me to give advice. I'm that type of boss up friend.
Yeah.
Everybody that you come in contact with, and I need people to know this, everybody that you come in contact with and everybody that you befriend will not be that person. And you have to be able to differentiate. if this friend is able to go with you and handle and handle some of the things that you say, because a lot of the things that I just came out of, and Jelesa, you can attest to this, they were very triggering for some people.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell everybody, hey, I'm going through this, or hey, this is what that looks like. So everybody was not able to be that friend that understood the assignment. Some of them did not even get the assignment.
I feel like there should be a moment of silence for that. Girl, they didn't even get it. That right, I don't know. That kind of irritates me a little bit, but I've seen that happen. You know, it's like not everyone has the tools to support you in that season.
No.
And it's funny because we hear when we're kids, right, about the fair weather friend. And
Yeah.
I don't know, as I have entered adulthood in these friendships and you understand, like, you can be in a flourishing season, you can be in the desert season. The people that were with you in the desert season might not be with you in the flourishing season. The one that are in the flourishing season, you know, it can go any way. We all have certain tools that we can bring.
That's good.
And you know, I know for me, this year has been such a testament to a fervent prayer, which is a longing, like you said, for sisterhood and community, and to be able to see restoration in friendship, right? Friends coming back has been a beautiful testament to God's timing. And
Mhm.
I also think God kind of pulling people in and out
Yeah.
of my life and showing me, you know, you can have different types of relationships with people. So when you're talking about your friend and it's like we can go and just be in bed together and how people sexualize it, I think
Yeah.
sometimes we can forget at the essence of relationship is friendship.
Yes.
So, right, we're talking about what is, you know, what is a friend to you, but what, like, how are you a friend? And how do you
Yeah.
bring that to the table? And I think we might have talked about this where I said, you know, a lot of people want to get to the relationship part, but they can't even be a friend,
Right. Right.
you
One of
know,
the
and
most oh,
no,
I
no,
wanted
go
to say
ahead. You go ahead.
one of the most rewarding things that I've heard here recently. So I'm not dating, but I have had a guy tell me that he's been enjoying getting to know me. And I thought about that quote that you just said because you are so right and dead on. You said at the essence of a relationship is a friendship.
Yes.
So for a guy to tell me that he's enjoying getting to know me and we're not dating, you know, it's nothing like we're just getting to know each other. I've known him now for over a year and I'm like, okay, you know, I'm open to if this continues to still be a friendship because he's cool as crap. Or I'm open to if it goes another way, right? But that doesn't mean what I like is I was talking to him recently. He's a friend. And I was talking to him recently about another guy who expressed interest in me. And I told him because he's my friend.
Yeah.
And you know, most women would just kind of shy away from the information, but no, he's a friend. And he told me, he said, well, you know what, Miss Lady, that's not surprising to me. He said, you're gorgeous, you're beautiful. He said, and you know, I'm enjoying getting to know you. He was like, but if this is your chance, or this is the guy that you know, whatever, he's like, I fully support that. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, do what you gotta do. He said, we're not at that point or that level where I can be like, I don't want you talking to nobody. And he said, and you can't be like that, you know. He's like, go out there and, you know, explore. He's like, if it's not working, then you know, we whatever. So that's another side of friendship that we don't talk about, the supportiveness from friends, whether
Oh my
it's male
goodness. Yes.
or female. Right. Whether it's male or female, we all need to feel supported, heard, and we need to feel beautiful in our friendships. I feel beautiful and heard and supported when I talk to certain friends versus when I talk to others. And real quick, Jelesa, Medea had this saying. Do you remember when Medea said on her play, she said, if you got the question why somebody's in your life, they don't need to be there.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah.
Another moment of silence.
Another, no, I'm telling you, I'm having a moment. You guys are seeing live in the flesh me trying to like genuinely process. But it's so right. And when you said like just to be appreciated, to feel seen, and to be supported. And what I have noticed is as you kind of go through seasons, depending on what season you're in, it can almost like highlight where someone else is, where they're working on a part of
Yeah.
themselves. And so I'll give an example. When I first launched this podcast, I remember the day I was actually at work and I was in like the corner of my little cube, just having the best day ever. And I was so excited. And all of my friends were reposting, they were texting. But one of my best friends, who I happened to like work with, was there and never uttered a word. Never uttered a word. And I remember going home and like it was really strange, like liking everything but anything related to the podcast. And I just remember being so hurt because I'm like, this has been huge. Like everyone in my circle knows how big this is. Like, why are you not responding? Like, I want your feedback, if anything. And like to this day has never said a word about it. Which to me, like as time has gone on and God has revealed more about myself to me, things evolve and life happens and great things happen to you. And imagine having a friend that really isn't acknowledging
Yeah.
huge chunks of your life. And that has not set well with me. So when you said that quote about if you have to question, because in some ways it can feel like, am I in vain by thinking, why are you not celebrating me? But the reality is, I need you to see me in my fullness. Like, Jelesa is not going to make sense to you if you don't know where all of my passions are. Like, I have to make it make sense.
Yes. Yes.
So it just rings so true, that quote. And then also how important it is to make sure that we are aligned with the right
Yes.
friends. Um,
Yes.
so I think like being, goal oriented, or
Yes.
especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're having to make sure that you're aligned with like-minded people, or people that are
Yes.
still, or at least on a parallel path, so you aren't running into people that might be trying to sabotage you, whether consciously or unconsciously, right? We pray for those that are too insecure to put themselves out there, right? We're
Yes.
always praying for those. But there are some people that are trying to sabotage you.
That's true. And a lot of times it comes from your inner circle.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I really like how the circle works, right? So when you think of a circle can continue to go on and on and on. It can do this all day long. It doesn't stop. It's not triangular to where it stops at each corner. It can go on and on. That's you that can make it go on and on. But that doesn't mean the people inside have to continue going on and on with you. So
Yeah.
at some point, that circle is going to keep on rolling. But sometimes you got to roll some people on about that circle. And
Yeah.
I've had to do that. I had this girl, oh my gosh, she was I would say my best friend. But it was just something. And my mother is a woman of discernment. My mother and my godmother. Shout out to moms and
I
godmoms, but
know.
they are
They
women of
know.
discernment. They are women of discernment, Jelesa. And
They
they will
are.
tell me every so often, she's not your friend. She ain't your friend. But I'm gonna let you, and my mom and my godmother, I call both of them my moms. So I'm gonna say my moms on the podcast. My mothers are very supportive. So it's like, in a sense, I'm gonna let you make your own decision, but I'm telling you, she ain't it.
Mm.
And I would not. It was like I was like, yeah, I'm a keeper. I'm tugging a warrant with them. I'm like, I'm a keeper. I'm a keeper.
I'm gonna stay around. I'm gonna figure it
I'm
out.
gonna stay around. I'm a see for myself because I was really honestly wanting to prove them wrong. That's how much I love this girl. That's how much I love this girl. So the very first time we fell out, we had made it to year 10, never fell out, never fell out. Well, I got into this relationship and then I started to notice certain things in this relationship. And I didn't like how she acted when around my significant other. So I would bring
Mm.
it to her attention. Well, let me be honest. Initially, I would hold it in because that's what I used to do. I used to hold a lot of stuff in. Well, when I finally brought it to her attention, she would become very defensive. very defensive, and then emotions went everywhere. She'll start crying, and I'm more of a black and white person. When I'm not going through emotions, that's when I know I'm not aligned with God, when my emotions are all over the place. But for most part, I can have an entire conversation, and I can be looking at you with a blank face. I don't have to
Ooh.
cry. I don't get emotional. Like, that's how I know that I'm truly aligned with my spirit, right? Well, her emotions were all over the place. Long story short, we ended up falling out twice. We never fell out for 10 years, but we ended up falling out twice in a year. It was how she moved. And the whole time I'm telling her, I don't like how you move. I'm not liking it, because again, 10 years, that's a long time. You've known me from, wanting you to ride and die with me. And she was that. She was whatever I needed her to be. She kept my kids. Very, very good friend. But once we grow, and as we grow, things change. And when things change and I'm communicating with you, I don't like this. I'm setting boundaries because I'm learning myself. It's like I was okay as long as I was at that level where you can control me. But once I started to grow and become the woman that God designed me to be, and you really saw that some things just wasn't going to align with your spirit anymore, then that's when I started to see the riffraff. And it hurt me, Jelesa. It hurt me to my soul. I would say to this day, I still don't have the closure that I needed from that friendship. So I had to find it from God. But that friendship lasted way longer than what it should. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, you know what? Rest in peace to that friendship. I wish her the best in life.
Yeah.
But overall, I have to stick to my boundaries. And I think that goes back to what you were saying. Sometimes silence itself is a form of communication in friendship.
Oh,
If you're not
1,000%.
right, if you've gotten to a point where you're not supporting me anymore, we can't talk about things, or when I try to approach you, you get silent, or you act like you don't see my text messages, or you act like you start to ignore my calls a little bit more. We need to reevaluate some things. Maybe we've outgrown each other. And what
Maybe.
I found out, Jelesa, is it's beauty in outgrowing situations and people. If we're not goal oriented, like you said, if we're not like minded anymore, and let's be honest, as life comes, we're going to grow apart. So the thing is being okay with that, because remember, that circle gonna keep on circling. I just don't have to go ahead and revolve you on out that circle.
Exactly. I say all the time, this train, it keeps on moving. You
Yes.
can either get on or you can get off, but I gotta go. I gotta go. But it does, because everything that you said, I think rings true, because it leads to the question of, like, what do you do when you are in misalignment, right? And you said two key things: communicating and boundaries.
Yeah.
And well, you said a lot of good things, so I'm going to touch on them one at a time. But I do agree with you. I think at our big age, there should be an understanding that if there is an issue, communicate, and be straightforward. And so if we go back to the beginning, when you said, what is a friend for you? A friend for me is straightforward. Make it plain, right? And the same way it says it in the Bible, if you have an issue, bring it to me and let's handle it and let's move on.
Right.
I don't, I think I'm at this point where I'm very focused on my passions and building community and being an advocate for single parents. I do not want to have certain conversations. And I think that I'm now qualified to say that. So, that's why I think that boundaries piece is critical. And when you said that some people's relationship with you will change because they were trying to control you.
Yeah.
And I take that even a step further, where I have seen in friendships, people will either gatekeep resources or they will not validate your experiences. And I actually wanted to get very specific on that, because it is so, I don't want to say silent. It's just, silent is the word that I can think of right now, but it's something that you can't see, but I'll give an example. As a single mother, right, I am living a very different experience than, someone that might have someone else in their household that is supporting them full time.
Yeah.
So there are certain times where I am experiencing high amounts of stress as a parent. And if I were to go to friend A and express that, and my friend responded, well, Jelesa, they're just kids, that is invalidating my experience because I'm just a person. Versus if I go to friend B and say, I'm really stressed. I don't know what to do. And friend B starts saying, you know what? I remember that time and it was very difficult for me. And this is what I did. And actually, I know somebody that's going through the same thing. Let me give you her number.
Yeah.
And so those are the differences in a friend that is perfectly okay with you staying in a situation that is not healthy for you, watching you burn yourself out, watching you run yourself ragged and go crazy, thinking that you are the only person experiencing this.
Yeah.
Then there's
Yeah.
the other one that's like, we're not going to sit here.
Yeah.
We're not going to sit here. What do I need to give you to make sure we don't sit here? And those are the friends that I need. And I wanted to point that out because I think we see that a lot. And I hate to say it, we see it a lot with women. This is
Yes.
specifically why I have to be very mindful from a security level. Like, are you insecure? Are you secure? Because that's where you start to see those sort of actions rear out. So I'm calling that out for the audience that
Mhm.
if you have these relationships where your experiences are not being at least validated,
Yeah.
that is a form of manipulation.
Yes, I agree. And you touched on a lot of things. What I want to say is that friend that you said told you, Jelesa, this is normal. This is what kids do. I agree. Maybe you're not in a season where you can empathize with what I'm going through as a single mom, right? But the friend who gave you that supportive and gave you personal experiences about that, that
Mm-hmm.
is what I would call a boss up friend.
Yes.
That's who you want in your corner. And that's all that boss up friends mean. That's all that boss up conversation means. Who can you depend on in the time of need, right? Who can I depend on to get me right back up? Because again, like you said, we can't stay here. We got to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Who's moving forward with me? And at some point, when you realize that you and a particular friend are not moving forward, it's time to just go ahead and exit stage left. It's time to just go ahead and let it be, and that doesn't mean you have to cut them off. I used to have this cutting off spirit where I just cut folks off. I'm telling you,
You did
it's some
too?
folks. Yes, I did. It's some folks that I still have not even wanted to revisit a friendship with. I'm just being honest. But, I don't necessarily have to cut you off, but that just means we do yearly check-ins. Hey girl, how you doing? Good. How's the kids? Good. Oh, okay. I'm so proud of you. I did see that on Facebook. Okay. Well, it's nice talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of energy that you get from me.
And hey, same.
Yeah.
Same. And I think it has to be that way, because
Yeah.
I think as you go through each season of your life, you have to almost foster relationships differently and
Yes.
with different people. Like I'm in a season now where, and I hate to say this because I don't think I've publicly said it, but it is the truth. If the only thing that we are doing is sending reels to each other in the DM, I'm so sorry. I have to say it. That is not enough for me.
That's not enough. But what I like is that you said it's not enough because how many of us know as we're talking about friendships, how many of us know when to say this is not enough or this is no longer serving its purpose in my life?
Yes.
I've had friends that when we started out, it was just fresh, it was good, it was new. I loved it. I thrived to see them. I had one friend, I craved her energy. That's just how good of a friend she was and still is to me, right? I still crave her energy. But she's in a season where she can't give me as much energy. She started a
Yes.
new job. Her son went off to college, so things happen for her. So it goes back to my characteristic as a friend. I'm patient. And what I'll do is I'll send her text every now and then and be like, I love you. I miss you. When you get some time, can you reach out to me? Because I really do miss you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying when it's talking about being a good friend. Like not only expecting good friendships, but also you being the good friend, right?
Giving it.
You have to
Yep.
foster peace on both ends. I can't want you to come into my life and bring me joy, and I'm pulling all this joy and peace from you, and I can't give you that in return.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
then I thought about what you said when you said those friends that like to gatekeep resources.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely have run across a few of those. It was situations where people would tell me, I got in touch with your friend about you speaking at an event. She didn't tell you? And I'm like,
Ooh.
no, I didn't get that message, but thank you. So it really just spoke to sometimes what God already puts inside of us. Honestly, we know
You
what
do.
relation we know what relationships, what friendships just ain't it. We try, and I believe it's the human nature in us, right? We try so hard to make sure that we do everything we can. And I'm just
Yeah.
gonna be honest, I'm gonna hit zodiac signs real quick. I'm a Sagittarius. So I'm gonna
Mm.
give you all of the rope you need to hang yourself. But just know, once I'm out of rope, it's a wrap. Because I will
Ooh.
give chance after chance, but that when I'm done, I'm pretty much done. You
Well,
have really given it to yourself.
that's the Pisces way.
I love it.
That's how I move. I will give you every single chance, and I'll watch you play your cards. I'll just
Oh,
literally watch, and I might pepper
I
in some questions. I'll let you sprinkle in your truths at different timelines because I remember everything.
yes,
I do
yes,
remember everything. And I'll just kind of wait. And then eventually I will slowly fade and
yeah.
just kind of not mimic the energy, but realign my energy. Because I do feel like if you stay in those spaces, one, I think people can speak things into you that aren't really meant for you because of the season they might be in. And
Yeah.
I've had a lot of experiences where relationships that I've chosen to be in or friendships, they've held me back because in reality it's like, Jelesa, you need to be talking to people that have resources. You're spending 4 hours on the phone with her talking about dates when you really could be spending 4 hours on the phone talking about how to run this system smoother, how to monetize something like. And I
Mm,
remember telling my therapist specifically, I want to have different conversations.
yeah.
And I didn't know what I wanted that to be, but I knew I was kind of getting over the ones that I was having. And it was even that way when I was married.
Yeah.
Like, one, I don't have any of the friendships that I did when I was married. So that was a
Mm,
huge shift. But I remember a lot of the time it was like all of the wives in the kitchen complaining about their husbands, playing. And I just remember thinking, like, I don't want to talk about this.
mhm.
Like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about our laundry. I don't want to talk about the dishes. I maybe want to spend 10 minutes on the kids. And
Yeah.
so I had to make some really tough decisions on like, I'm just not going to go to certain things. And the funny thing was, they were having all of these side events and not inviting me anyways.
Yeah.
So there's no hard feeling there or bad blood, but it's just, I had to start being honest with like, are you even enjoying the experiences that are happening?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how you're being treated. Like, I've had those same things where friends, we go through different seasons, so they're just kind of out of pocket. um and I've learned to just allow that to play out instead of trying to push it further
Yeah.
and trying. It's just like, no, I'm gonna let you, and I'm gonna support you, and I'm gonna love you always.
What I wanna say is it sounds like you were experiencing a season of loneliness. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I guess I was. Now that you
And
say it.
what I want to say about that is I think about Robin Williams, one of my favorite actors, comedians, and one of his quotes, I have it pulled up and I want to read it. It says, I used to think that the worst thing in life was to end up alone. It's not. The worst
No.
thing in life is to end up with people who make you feel alone. And if that doesn't speak to what we're talking about, like you said, staying in those spaces when you start to feel that loneliness, or if I'm with you and I don't feel empowered, I don't look forward to the next time I see you, I'm not
Yes.
planning dates to see you again. We've kind of run our course with this friendship. And that will, like you said, it'll hold you back. It would definitely stunt your growth. When you're trying to continue to stay connected to someone, you remember those little trains that we had for Christmas and you put them on the track?
Yes,
But what happened when
yes.
you didn't attach one? The other one kept going around, and by the time it came around again, this one that you didn't move, it hit it. And it'll either knock it out the way because this one was on full force to keep going. And that's kind of how friendships are when you allow them to stunt your growth. You keep growing. You keep growing, but eventually you're going to have to run over some folks to get them out your way, or you're
Yeah.
going to crash. And sometimes what crashing looks like in a friendship that you've outgrown is burnout. You can experience
Mm.
burnout from work and you can experience burnout from people.
Wow.
And you don't want to experience burnout from people and not be able to talk about it. So I agree with everything that you say. That's why I'm such an advocate for boss up conversations, boss up friendships. Are we aligned? Because right now I heard you say that you are an advocate for single parents, and I think we share that in common. That's how we first met, through your brother.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you're an advocate, she's an advocate. We would do great things together. So I need friends in this season that's praying for my business that
Yeah.
I'm going to have for single women. And that's why I told you, I said, Jelesa, I'm praying for wherever this podcast takes you and outside of this podcast. Like, you need friends that speaking life into you. You need friends that,
Exactly.
yes, you need friends that
Exactly.
can help and also not be gatekeepers. I need friends like your brother. Your brother was the one who put me on you. I had never heard of a Jelesa Warren. And your brother was the one that was like, I like your spirit and you need to connect with my sister's spirit. And I'm like, I'm going to do that. And
And
it was
here,
right. And it was actually him who spoke to a friend about me. And she told me, and I called him. So shout out to Zipporah. Shout out to Zipporah. I always
oh,
shout Zipporah out because she's really the epitome of a good friend, a great woman, a woman that's not trying to hold resources, a woman that really wants nothing but the best for me and my family. So
oh
shout
yeah.
out. And
Shout
shout out to
out.
any of these friends out there. And let me just say this, because we're talking a lot about what a friend should be and what we've experienced. But if you're not at that level where you can say, Christine, I am a little bit of a hater in my friendship because I'm hurt. Sometimes when we're hurt that life is not going for us how it should, we
Mhm.
do become, we could drift off
Yeah.
there easily. So what I want to do is I want to challenge the women who, after listening to this, they say, you know what, I want to be a better friend. Maybe I need to check myself. I had to check myself. It was one season I had friends left to right getting married. And I had to say one day, I said, enough is enough. I'm not going to another wedding because ain't nobody proposing to me. But then God quickly convicted me and he was like, how dare you? How
Yeah.
dare you? When you ask that God that I connect you to other women and now in their season they need you to be the happiest that you can be and you're mad and you ask for this, you ask me to
You
connect you to
asked
other
for it.
beautiful souls. How dare you? Baby, when I tell you I felt that conviction and I got right on up, got dressed, and went to a wedding, you just saw me at another wedding. I celebrated and truly celebrated
Yeah.
another friend getting married. So shout out to the Graves. They just got married this
Mhm.
weekend. Yes, very beautiful. But I will say this, even if you identify by listening to this podcast that that is not you and you're not in that space to want to celebrate another friend,
Yes.
I'm not going to say shame on you just yet. What I'm going to say is, I would encourage you highly to ask God to show you your soul. Ask God to show you yourself. And when He helps you to identify, you can't change something unless you identify what the problem is. Once you identify what that problem is, Jelesa, I'm going to be praying and touching and agreeing with the ladies that identify. And I'm going to be praying that God changes your heart. Because once He changed your heart and you ask for the Father, say, Lord, give me a heart like yours, because we're made in his image, right? So why we can't have his heart? Lord, give me a heart like yours. Give me a mind like yours to where I don't look at other women as competition. Where I don't look at
Mm.
other women who are having babies and who are getting married as competition. And I don't get that bitterness, that envious spirit in me because they're thriving and I'm not. Lord, I need you to give me a spirit that says, if you bless them and you did it for them,
Why not?
then you will do it for me. And
Exactly.
it just ain't my time right now. But Lord, that tells me if you did it for a friend, it means you in the neighborhood to do it.
Oh,
So I'm in the neighborhood with them. Be in the neighborhood with your friends. Stand in the gap for your friends. Be a speaker over their life for your friends. Be the encourager, the empowerer, the motivator. Be the boss up friend.
be it, because there is joy on the end of it. Ooh,
Yes.
I'm with you. I am with you.
Yes.
I think that there is so much joy in celebrating. And
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure I've said it on this podcast. If you have the opportunity to be on the ride with someone as they become a living testimony, and you have the
Mm,
opportunity to go through the seasons with them and watch how they show up, that is, I'm literally getting chills. That is a beautiful experience. And I just want to be
mm,
there.
yes.
Like, it doesn't even have to be me. I will celebrate the weddings and the graduations, but you're right.
Yes.
You have to prepare, you have to pray that God reveals your heart. Because I do feel like for me this year, I have been praying of not only wanting friendship, but being a better friend. And in that,
Ooh, yeah.
God has been bringing me people that have kind of been, holding me accountable to that. I had
Yes.
a friend
Yes.
one time, like I kind of went dark, and I responded and I said, life got a hold of me. And he told me, he's like, life gets a hold to everybody, Jelesa. I'm trying to be there for you. Yeah. God,
Moment
and
of silence.
yes, several, because you talk about being convicted, but I think also being convicted by a friend, right? God is bringing those people into your life for a reason. I had been praying like, Lord, I need help. I don't have help. I need support. And I remember being at a dinner with one of my girlfriends and being in tears because I was like, I have all this going on and I'm moving and my job, and she looked me dead in my eyes, just like, friendship is meant to be more than just laughing and cocktails.
Yep. Yep.
And that's when I had to challenge myself. One, you have to be vulnerable and you have to
Oh,
be
yeah.
willing to show up as your authentic self. And you have to be able to express to people who you are. I find myself in all of my friendships having to explain, I do this because of this, or I'm in this mood, so expect this. I want you to know me because I know myself and I now know what I need. And when you talk about accountability and boss up friends, that really resonates because I'm pretty sure you had to boss me up back in August.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay. I'll be willing to do it anytime that you need me because in my season, you were there for me. You called, you text, and that's really what it is. And like you said something so key. You said friendships is more than laughter and cocktails. I want to have fun with you, but I also want to cry with you. If I can't be vulnerable and say, "Hey, this is what I'm struggling with you," then we just not gonna be it. It's just not gonna work.
Yeah.
I always think about, hey, it's not you, it's me.
It's not going to work anymore. Well, I'm curious, because we are both in our mid early 30s. We're not going to
Yeah.
name anything. But when you're going through school, it's easy to find those friends, right? Because you're almost in these cohorts, right? So you're experiencing a lot of the same stages. And then eventually it does split when we start seeing marriages and babies. It's kind of somewhat happening at the same time. But it becomes harder and harder to not only find friends, but find friends that are available and find
Yes.
friends that are aligned to you. And I know when I was searching for
Mm,
friendship, the first place that I started was like, let me find people that are interested in my hobbies. And so it's like, I'll join these kayaking groups and I'll do these book clubs. And because I thought like we had to have these hobbies in common. And yes, I found some great people there, but I didn't find holistic friendship there. I have
mm,
found it definitely through this podcast. It has genuinely been a blessing to me. Like, you and I would not know one another
no,
had this podcast not existed.
no. And what I want to say is, and I want to say this and not sound cocky. My spirit. Um, I
Yeah.
don't have a problem meeting friends. I meet some of the most beautiful souls when I go to Walmart, when I'm at Dollar Tree. I have this girl, this lady. I can't even call her girl. She's a lady. She's a grown woman. She's beautiful. She came to my birthday event last year, and I had just met her that week. And my birthday event was the one where over 20 something women came. that
Wow.
I met here. Only probably about 4 of them were people that came from Mississippi where I'm from, but the rest was women that I met here. I only been here that time at 4 years. Well, this lady and I met at the nail shop, and we just sat down. So I have met women at the nail shop, successful friendship. I've met women at Dollar Tree, Walmart. I've met women through just people, word of mouth, like your brother. So that's not the issue. I think the problem that I'm having is knowing how much to tell certain friends, because again, a lot of
Mm,
stuff that we go through in different seasons, when you say, like you said, being vulnerable, you have to be careful because you don't want to dump on new people, right?
yes.
So none of the women that I've met, minus you, in the last 6 months, know what I'm going through or knew what I was going through. And that's okay. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I've already deemed them as a person that it's just in this season, I just didn't feel led by God. But who's to say that whatever comes next, right? Whatever comes after that, because I have a son and in 2 years he'll be graduating. I'm definitely going to need to lean on the friend that I met at the nail shop more because
Hmm.
she had a son this year to graduate. So I think different seasons bring about different testimonies from people that you need to hear and apply to your life. And I also think that being vulnerable comes when God leads you to that person, and then you're like, okay, in this season, I can definitely lean on them because
Yes.
they've gone through.
Yes. That is such a good point. And you brought up a good point about how much you can share.
Yes.
That's definitely something I'm working on because I am very much closed off.
Ooh,
And I do not like to share really. That's why usually if I am in a season, I kind of just like go in a little hermit shell and I'm like, I'll see you guys when I feel better. And you'll see me then.
gotcha.
And so I get called to the table on that quite a bit. But
Mm,
I think because like I long so much for that connection,
yeah.
and I do get nervous about people's intention. I am very, very hesitant.
Okay.
So it makes me very observant. Like a lot of the time, it takes me a long time to consider someone a friend unless
Mhm.
I intrinsically understand. Like now I do understand if I find someone that I click with, to genuinely trust it. And when I say click, I mean I feel comfortable sharing my story with you, or calling you in places of vulnerability. That's when I will trust and be like, no, this is something you can trust on because I understand like it is very difficult to find someone that can take me on, or
Yes.
any of
Yes.
us on really. So when I find that, like, when I called you and I was sharing with you, you know, some really something I don't share at
Yeah.
all because that's such a side of my life I don't like to publicize. That's when it's like, okay, yep, we're good. We're good if you felt that comfortable. And that's for me, I feel like it's nothing but the Holy Spirit because I know
Right.
how controlling I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know physically this Jelesa, I will dip, dodge a question. But if I notice, oh my goodness, I'm just like saying, I'm just speaking, I'm just myself, I'm like, okay, we're good here. You found your
And
people.
also, right, finding your people. And also that lets me know that for one, God is in the business of connecting, right? Because that's what he does. That's
Yes.
what the kingdom is. It's about connecting like-minded again and being able to connect, to utilize people and their gifts in certain kingdom capacities. Well, I think that that's beautiful because when you shared with me, it honestly made me feel like I'm not the only brown girl going through something.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one struggling, you know? She may be struggling with something different, but she's still going through something. So it takes me out of, oh, whoa, it's me, it's me, it's me again. And it puts me in a position of, I can calm down because I'm not the only one that's just having life thrown at her right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to hear your testimony. I don't know if I ever shared that with you. I
Mm-hmm.
needed to hear that another woman my age is lonely, is hurting, is balancing parenthood, working, trying to do your advocacy for single moms, trying to get your business started, I needed to know I wasn't the only one. Because at some point, some people, I feel like this is just me. I feel like in some of my friendships, my friends are just juggling. You remember that man that just juggled all the,
Oh
and
yeah,
he would,
we're just
and
doing the
every,
thing.
yeah, every now and then he'll add a new apple and he'll add an orange and he'll juggle all of them. Well, I felt like I couldn't even juggle three things. It's like I had my oranges and then my apple came and I'm like, God, dog, I got to start again. That's how I felt. So when you share your stories and when other people share their stories, it takes me out of it's just me to know it's all of us going through something. I just got to get back to juggling. And you need friends to help you say, hey, come here. Throw me one and I'll juggle with you.
Yeah,
Come on, you don't have to juggle this by yourself.
you
Throw me
don't.
one. You remember that game, Double Dutch, when you jump rope?
Mm-hmm.
And it took two, and then it was two people having to do the jump rope together, and one person was able to get in, but then every now and then somebody else would jump in. But if it weren't for those two people doing the ropes together, and they had to be unified with doing those
Unified,
ropes, if
yes.
it wasn't for that, then nobody was able to jump. So that's how I look at friendship and sisterhood now. It's whoever's willing to help me roll the ropes. Who gonna be who
Exactly.
coming in to help me roll these ropes? Then when I thought about also when you said finding friends, like I say, it may be difficult for some to find friends, but my advice with that would be what you said. Be vulnerable. Go to a new event. You've invited me to multiple events. Like the dating event that we didn't go to, but you invited me, and also the church events. Like, get connected to a good church. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
Get out more. Like, sometimes I go to a restaurant. I went to a restaurant and I just sat there and ate, but I ended up talking to the couple next to me. And even though we didn't exchange numbers, but I needed that time with, with myself for one, and then also to connect and be like, hey, how you doing? They was shocked to see me sitting there eating by myself. They thought I was lonely. I wasn't lonely. I was in a good space,
Mm-hmm.
but I got to know them. And I also got to, learn some interesting things about them. So be vulnerable. Yes, be vulnerable.
Yeah, you got, I mean, and it's so scary. And but you talk about like, right, going and having dinner by yourself. I remember I did that, and I was there with like six other Black women that were also there at the bar eating lunch. They had their either audio books or they were reading, and then some of us started talking, and then we got together. And I love those moments. And I think as I've gotten older, understanding how to discern, right, where there is clear alignment in my life versus like, oh, this is a great experience, Jelesa. This is a great experience. But I just know how hard it can be putting yourself out there, especially at your age where not everyone is in your life stage. But I think, just as people talk about representation on like in movies and on the TV and in posters, I think it's so important for your friends to represent where you are in life, and you can look around and say, okay, this is in alignment. And I have noticed, like, I think the key stage for me was my divorce, because once I got divorced, I saw like all of those friendships were no longer in alignment with my, just in how they took it, how they were viewing it, the commentary, like, not it. And versus now, where I can clearly see, like, no, they see my vision, they see my heart. I don't have to explain myself as much anymore. And like you said earlier, you're being empowered, you're being poured into. I think we discount the value of friendship that it has in our life because, like I said, we're all looking for relationship. But the reality is it's friendship. That's why my criteria for even dating is, do you have friends? If you don't have friends, that is a red flag to me.
Right.
I want to know why. And so, because it's like, how do you know how to be a friend? How are you going to be in this relationship? Um, so for the audience, just kind of rounding us out, because I know we talked a lot about this, and I could actually go on because this has been a year. This year has been a pursuit of friendship for me. So I
Yes, it is.
definitely value it. But evaluating who you have around you and asking, do the friends that I have align with the season that I am in? And if you don't know what season we are in, I'm actually going to be coming out with a season's quiz to offer you. And now that I have said this, I have fully committed myself to this. It's
I like
process.
that.
It's process.
What a way to be accountable than to do it live, baby.
Do it live. Holding myself accountable, y'all. Holding myself
Yeah.
accountable. But I am not going to put a date out there, but before the end of this year. Knowing where your season is, knowing where you are in the season, and then aligning where you're focusing on and thinking, are these friends in those buckets, and can they support me in those areas, and how do I support?
Yes.
Anything else you want to add, Christine? Because it's always such
No,
a
just
pleasure.
of course, I love doing these talks with you because I think that they're so important. I like everything that you say. You're such an open-minded person for some of the
Mm,
conversations that we have. And we will have multiple more conversations because y'all, I be just texting her all the time, like, oh, we should do this. Oh, we should do this. Whenever something come to my brain, she gonna get it. So I am excited about what's
yeah.
to come for your podcast. I love to end the podcast giving you your flowers. I think you're a phenomenal woman. There's no in between with you. You are just phenomenal. So I love that about you. Continue being that and continue bringing the viewers of this podcast the very best information because we give out some great nuggets. I'm gonna
Gym
toot
after
our own
gym after
horn.
gym. Okay.
We do. We give out the best helpful information. So y'all really apply this to your life because we have gone through some things. That's all this is experience with us talking about it. But we also would love to not only hear from you, but also we want to know that you're applying these things. Like you're saying, okay, well, Christine, maybe I do need to ask God to search my soul to see if I'm a
Mm.
good. And if I'm not, let me do the evaluating, like Jelesa said. Let me see exactly where I'm at and where my friends can help me in my season. Do I even know what season I'm in? Jalesa's going to take it from there because she's going to do her thing with the knowing where you are in your season. I'm looking forward to that.
I am looking forward to that. I'm very excited. I did it for myself, where I really analyze what I'm focused on, with, friendship, with business, with work, with kids, the whole thing, and came up with I am in a season of intentional alignment. And I think that we have seen intentional alignment, directly on this podcast. I think we have individually seen that in our own lives. I'm excited to see where God takes everything. Like you said, there's so many more topics going into 2025, especially as we're rounding out this season. I am so excited. So, Christine, thank you so much for being on the pod again. We love it. And everyone, please make sure that you are subscribing to our YouTube channel. We have new episodes every other Tuesday, and I will see you soon. Bye. All right.